This is elevator music for Moon Knight. This is elevator music for Moon Knight. This is all the lyrics I thought of because I thought Josh would have it by now. Oh, those are some cracks. Jeez.
It was a bit.
Hello, everyone. I just cracked my elbow like 10 billion times.
Did. I counted.
10 billion?
You're a maths man.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
He knows numbers.
But we're back for the March comic cast of 2022. March last year, what did we do? We did...
Nice.
I think we did Invincible. Let us know down in the comments if I'm correct, because I won't go back and check.
Yeah.
I think it was probably around
It's
Invincible
possibly
time.
that. It might have been the month before we started, because it was started...
No, we started in January.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, we did do a full, but
We did
one just never
Vision.
arrived. Yeah.
Moon Knight. No, Vision. Vision, House of M.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't remember the one afterwards. So I
Yeah.
think it's around
Invincible.
Could be.
And then 2 Loki ones, but one doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It exists in our hearts.
that's right. Best podcast.
Yep. This March, we are doing Moon Knight.
Yeah.
In fact, 6 days till the 6 days. I can't get this right.
Yes.
I've been
Yeah, it would
forgetting
be
every
6
time.
days. Oh, no. It'd be 5 days, because it's on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally had someone
Yes.
ask me this question earlier today, and I did that exact same thing. In 5 days' time from time of recording, the 25th of March right now, 30th of March, Moon Knight comes out
We'll have
on
40
Disney
minutes, 40 minutes of Oscar Isaac in our face.
which is very exciting.
Yep.
And, you know, a lot of the time we do pretty recent comics on the Comic Cast. And I thought this time, let's take a bit of a travel back to the early 1980s, a time of Cold War and
Warm food.
warm food.
Nice. I was going to say where everything's just a little bit more tedious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Get there.
Says the programmer.
That's
a
right.
life free of tedium.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I thought we'd go back to the original Moon Knight comic run this time. Because I have read a lot of the more recent ones and they're pretty good, but they have a level of assumed knowledge
Okay.
that I thought probably wouldn't work as well for one of these comic casts where we tend to like to go into something that's kind of an origin of the character.
Yeah.
So it took us all the way back. Basically, this is his first solo comic. The one he did appear once before in a Werewolf by Night comic. There's a cool little reference to that later in one of these issues.
And also a series that's coming out this year that doesn't have Moon Knight in it, which is the Werewolf one. There's that's a one-off Halloween special.
I've heard that special.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was like a confirmed thing, but people are talking about it like it's confirmed.
It's confirmed with Michael Giacchino as the director.
Oh my goodness.
Which is very exciting.
Yeah,
So,
I've heard it's going to be like a Halloween special.
yeah, so it'll drop around October, which is pretty
And it's
cool.
like, it's Marvel stuff.
Yeah. Werewolves and ghouls and stuff.
I really hope Moon Knight makes an appearance in it as kind of like a allusion to that original appearance and
origins,
stuff.
yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Because
What the heck?
I think reading in this comic, I might be wrong here, but I also found out that the werewolf, his name is Jack Russell,
Yeah.
which I think is great.
Yeah.
As a Jack Russell owner,
Yeah.
but also just as the fact that
It's a good pun.
it's a good pun.
It's very good.
So I enjoyed that a lot. And not at all, I guess kind of related to Moon Knight, but not really related to what we're talking about here. Talking about the first 4 issues of this 1980 Moon Knight comic, written by Doug Munch. One of them will be right. I think I know the artist because Joshy in the Discord did a pronunciation for me.
Oh, good.
I'm not going to look at it though. I'm just going to try, and then we'll find out later. Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think that was pretty good.
Sounds pretty good.
Feels
Yeah, it
good.
looks like a Polish name or something.
This last one will trump it.
And
Yeah.
then the colorist Bob Sharon.
Yeah, nice.
Nailed it. Oh, I don't know about that actually.
Bob.
Sharon?
Sharon?
Could be Sharon?
It could actually be Sharon.
Bob.
Bob? Yeah.
Ironically,
Sharon?
it could actually that could be the one I screwed up.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
You have one note on one of those guys.
I have one note. So usually we do the comic curiosities, but we haven't written it out this week. This snuck up on all of us.
Yeah.
But I mentioned that I was reading through these to a mate of mine. His name's Peter. And
You'd know, Peter, if you've watched our Avengers Age of Ultron review.
that's correct.
Go back all the way there.
Go back all the way. And
A long way.
I think I sent him just an insane panel.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Who's the artist on that?" And I sent him just the line of everyone that wrote and arted and inked. And he was like, Bill S. I'm going to call him Bill S.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. It's like Bill S.
Sinkovich. It is Sinkovich. I got it right.
You nailed
Nice. Bill Sinkovich, legendary draftsman Bill Sinkovich. And I was like, maybe? Who's that? And then he sent me Elektra.
Mm-hmm.
So a link to the Elektra series, which is apparently like hugely, like highly regarded.
Mm-hmm.
And he's number 39 in a list of the 100 greatest comic artists of all time.
Wow.
Which is pretty nuts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no. So I actually pulled
very
it up
good.
while you were doing that. Josh, you made a whole thread in our Discord about Sinkovich, just called Sinkovich.
Amazing.
So if you want to find it, go to the Comic Cast and then click on the Threads tab and then click on that. It's a bit of a thing, but if you know how to use Discord, you work it out. But yeah, it basically, I think he pasted some
history.
some of the history, but also some of the later covers of him, and I can totally see very like iconic art styles
totally.
and stuff, which is interesting. And Joshy mentions this here is that he's not that at all in this comic.
in this
is
run, no.
very classic, like
Yeah.
80s
Oh, yeah.
Get the comic out in time.
art style.
Just finish it.
Just do it.
But like, yeah, there's some really quite stunning art if you look into some of his other stuff. So I would recommend it. New Mutants, Dazzler kind of stuff he's done. Elektra, as you mentioned. So yeah, if you want to learn a bit more about Bill Sinkovich, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
So we're
He's a busy
just
boy.
scratching the surface. As Josh mentioned, I didn't get a chance to find anything on Doug Murch or Bob Sharon. But I'm sure they're lovely people. And thank you for creating this comic.
Yeah. Thanks for giving us content.
Yeah, appreciate it. I don't know anything about them, so
Yeah.
maybe they're terrible people. Maybe I'm not thankful. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we should say up front, talking of terrible people, the era this comic comes from has a lot of issues.
So it's less of we had a content warning at the start of the last one. I would say less of a content warning in this one because we're not specifically going to say the things.
Yeah.
But this is definitely a comic of its age.
Yes.
And Marvel Unlimited points that out as well at the start of every issue.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
we're keeping it here as a means to learn from our mistakes in the past.
Totally.
Which I've never experienced on any of their comics. So I was like, what is this going to be like? And it's like the first time someone speaks, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting choices you're
A
making.
little bit. A little bit.
The 1980s was a different time in terms of the language people used. Just off the top, there's not even casual, blatant racism.
Yeah.
The character Bushman, who's a major thing in the first issue especially, is a bad black person who has tattooed his face white and basically is like styled like a crazy tribal person. It's not great.
Yeah.
And then we've also got stuff to do with multiple personalities disorder. The way they treat mental health and stuff is very very dodgy. And then also just a lot of really, really casual misogyny and sexism.
That's definitely the biggest. Well, I mean, all of it's prevalent throughout it, but it is just like, oh man, there's one woman and she doesn't have fun here.
Yeah. And he's just always calling her lady, which I don't like. Was that? I don't even feel like that was a thing. That's just very
maybe
like,
in the 1950s.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't here. I lady. It's like no one was talking like that in the 80s.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It was very weird. But anyway, that's getting that off the top. There's issues in that regard to the comic, which I don't.
4 issues.
You've made that joke already.
I won't stop.
Not on pod though.
No.
No, not on pod. That's true. But yeah, so we're not probably going to not talk too much more about them because it's prevalent throughout the whole thing. It's kind of just, if we do other comics from this era, it's going to be the same thing, really. But yeah, that definitely did, as I was reading it, grate on me a little bit. To the point I was like, do I need to keep going? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for the comic cast.
Yes.
But yeah, that's kind of all we got to say off the top. we're going to jump into some issues. And I asked the guys before, do we have plots?
Yeah.
And they said, no, not really.
Yeah.
So let's see how this goes. One of you's got to do it.
So issue 1, kind of origin, kind of not. Because it's odd that, like, because he's already appeared in other stuff.
Yeah.
So this is kind of giving him a base origin. I don't remember names. Jack, is he the main guy? No. Whatever his name is.
All right. So there's Stephen.
Yes.
Stephen Grant.
Yes.
Mark Spector.
Yes.
Jack
The cabbie.
the cabbie.
Yeah.
Lockley.
Lockley.
Jake Lockley.
Jake Lockley.
Yeah.
And then Moon Knight.
And then Moon Knight. Well, the normal one is a war man doing stuff for people.
Yeah.
Mark Spector.
Yeah.
I think that was
Sure.
Initially working for Bushman.
Bushman. Bushman basically storms into a town, assaults.
Just a horribly awful person.
Yeah. Terrible
And,
man.
you know, would be bad enough if the racial caricature wasn't there.
Yeah. He's a villain outside of
Totally.
the terrible things they did to a poor man.
Totally.
Yeah.
He attacks Lady's
Yep.
father, killing Lady's father.
Yep.
Mark's like, hey, that's not cool, dude. Weirdly, is like very clever. I think it's the one clever thing he does in the whole thing, where she's like, she's not getting that he's a good guy. So he's just like, I'm going to get you. And she's like, oh, fuck, I'm out of here. And I'm like, that's a good way to get her out of danger.
Yeah,
That was
totally.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that moment. But it turns out her and her father had like dug up some ancient Egyptian stuff. And eventually Mark gets there and is like, hey, after being basically killed by Bushman, he's like, hey, I'm dead now. Lays on the ground. And then he's like, actually, you know what? I'm not dead. And I need to be that thing. And looks up at the Egyptian dude and is like, I'm going to be that thing now.
It's really not what I expected.
No.
Because
And the craziest thing is, from the little we've seen of the show, I'm like, I feel like they're going to do a lot of this.
Well,
like, there's a lot of Egyptian like burial sites and stuff like that. I'm like, I feel like they're going to do a good job of fixing this, which would be cool.
I think from what I've read of other Moon Knight comics, I think some of them go a little bit back into the origins, but Khonshu is such a like strong, often like horrific figure. You see his depictions in a lot of the comics; it's very terrifying.
Yeah.
And in the TV show as well, we've seen little images of him, and he looks scary as all hell, which is very cool.
Dad's not watching.
But yeah, he's just
there.
Is a statue that he gives a cape
has a
off.
cape.
The fact that the statue itself has an actual cape
It's
as
like
well.
it's like a statue you would buy.
Yeah.
Like a hot toy figure that has a removable cape.
It's a mannequin.
Yeah. So I don't know why.
That's not how that works.
I don't know why I expected this to be so much more. But I was just like, oh, okay. It's basically his origin, which I thought these comics were going to be, is really just one page in this comic.
He dies and then he doesn't, so he takes a cape.
Yeah, it's definitely more of an origin of like his multiple personalities.
Yeah.
Which at this point they're also not really treating as that. So
Yeah.
They're just three ugly dudes.
You would expect some sort of like, spiritual, the thing enters from the tomb of him into Mark Spector and then he becomes that.
Nah.
It goes weird as well, but no.
He just wakes up.
Just nothing. Just
That.
I'm that now.
Yeah.
With the cape.
yeah, totally.
cold.
Yeah.
I don't have many notes for this one myself. I just said that it's cool at the start of all of these. I got Stan Lee Presents. That's a nice remnant of the 80s.
Yeah.
And at the first one, it's the Macabre Moon Knight, which I quite liked.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I will say is that it's in my notes for issue 2. There's so much text in these. It's kind of ridiculous. I felt like I was reading a book, but it was almost worse than reading a book because there's so much imagery and stuff as well. It was like very distracting.
Yeah.
However, Doug Munch, I'm just going to say Munch.
Yeah, same.
Doug Munch is very good at his descriptive text. There's a description particularly of him walking through the desert that I read that I was like, my goodness, this is like top tier writing.
Yeah. One of the context boxes in particular from issue 3, I wrote down word for word to read out.
Yeah,
because
cool.
It's like, it's just so, it's such an interesting way to write what he wrote.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, I found a lot of the writing, especially the context
Just
stuff.
the dialogue. Dialogue's
good.
the issue.
Yeah.
The context boxes and stuff are great.
Yeah.
There is one bit of dialogue, I think, from maybe issue 3 as well, that I quite like. But most of it's just like, you don't need to speak.
Yeah.
You don't need to talk.
No. Yeah.
And then the weird thing is every now and then it's like, and then and next in the corner, and it's like, this is a scene.
Yeah.
Why are you saying and then? I can read.
Yeah, we know.
I know that's
Totally.
the next panel.
Totally. Yeah, no, he's very strong in his descriptive text.
Yeah.
Dialogue could definitely use a bit of work.
Yeah.
But I think it's mainly also because it's just a lot of exposition in the dialogue. It's just like bubbles and bubbles of exposition. And then finally we get some lovely like retrospective look at a room that's written in the most delicate, like fancy way. And it's great.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, Josh, do you have anything on issue 1?
Yeah, so the first shot where we see Lady and her father.
We should bring up that Lady's name is Marlene?
Yes.
Yes, Marlene.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
I didn't actually have it anyway.
I
Nailed it.
didn't have it written
Who doesn't appear to be in the show, but there is a female character that. And the other thing is the show has an almost entirely Egyptian writing staff and directors and stuff. So they've put a lot more of that into it. And I think the actress they've got for the female character in it is Egyptian, so they may have just changed the name. But I think she might still be in the show.
Yeah.
Just new name.
You want to hear a cool... Sorry, Josh.
Yeah,
you can do this in a sec.
go
Cool piece of trivia. If anyone has read the current ongoing Kang the Conqueror series, there is a little Moon Knight thing in there where Ravonna Renslayer at one point is a Moon Knight in Egypt.
Oh, yes, I did.
When Kang... Because in Marvel lore, Kang at one point was the Emperor of Egypt, and at that point, Ravonna was the Moon Knight, which I thought was very cool.
Cool.
Highly recommend that series if you haven't read it.
That's the young Kang, and you kind of
young Kang basically.
Love that. That was great.
Young Kang, he meets old Kang at the start and is kind of trained by him, and then over the course of the 5 issues, he turns into the older Kang.
It's a good loop.
It's very, very good.
Yeah.
But anyway, just a quick aside, little Moon Knight Easter egg in there, which I really like.
Nice. Yeah. That's very cool. Yeah, so Marlene and her dad, the first time we see them, they're kind of in their shack, but they're in a lot of darkness. And I just loved the art in that. Like, it's just very blue as, like, shadows and stuff. And there's a lot of, like, dotted dithering and stuff like that. For that. I just loved the old school, like, it was almost like a pop style.
Yeah, I love the blue shadows of these because it's because it's very much inked onto paper. They had to... They can't use
There's
like
no negative
blacks and stuff.
Yeah. Although later it's like midnight, but it just looks like it's in the middle of the day. In like issue 3 and 4. And page 20, there is an insane shot of Moon Knight kicking 2 guys, and his legs are just going in wild directions. Amazing. I think I actually might
come up for everyone.
Crap.
Do 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 do. This is elevator music for Moon Knight. This is elevator music for Moon Knight. This is all the lyrics I thought of because I thought Josh would have it by now.
Yeah, good. It's just legs.
The other one.
And Splam and Chud.
Chuds.
Oh, there is some
Chud.
Good onomatopoeia.
And that's a Gus Ronald original right there.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true.
Yeah, I just love, like, I don't know how he gets any power out of that kick at all.
It's just like limp
with them
little
so
flips.
Separated and it's just an insane shot.
Very
I hope
impressive.
we see that.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite panels of the Hulk. The whole series.
Good.
Yeah, it's in. I think it's in issue 4 at the very end. We'll get to it, but there's also some very good onomatopoeia.
Good.
There's just some like, I guess, noises that I'd never seen them written out that way. I was like, good job, good job.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. That's kind of issue 1.
Yeah,
pretty much it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool introduction to Moon Knight as a character. I guess it's kind of resetting his whole origin, but definitely the actual mystical Khonshu parts of it I thought were very underdone. But I think my opinion of that is swayed by reading some of the latest stuff. So
I think all 4 of these kind of feel like a lot of the early Spider-Man stuff where it feels like a newspaper comic.
Yeah.
Where they're just like, there's like 3 pages in this.
Yeah.
And then you've padded it out with 20 other ones.
Yeah.
So there's no actual content in these things.
Totally.
They were just kind of chucking out issues. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not too much.
Alrighty. Issue 2.
Issue 2.
There's a night stalker and he's killing homeless people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's doing it and they're like, whoa, this isn't great. And then it turns out he was just trying to get to one of Mark's mates who happened to be homeless, and it turns out that he's his son. Mark's homeless friend has a son that left with a mother.
Good courtroom twist moment. I did like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Again, there's just not much. Like, it's a funny thing because people have always compared. Well, people always get angry when people compare Moon Knight to Batman, and I'm like, in these 4 comics, he's Batman.
He's absolutely 100%.
He's just Batman.
Yeah.
Like when the mystical stuff kick in and the newer stuff for sure, it's like a completely different angle. But this is a night stalking man that in the daytime can't do much, so he waits till night to do stuff.
Yeah.
It's Batman.
And just has a big old cape.
Yeah.
You know, a bunch of basically batarangs.
Yep.
That are moon shaped.
Well, again, it's like, I guess theoretically...
Crescent darts.
Crescent darts.
Them. That's right.
Random bullshit go. Meme always said.
Yep.
I guess theoretically, like, it did come after Batman. They're clearly riffing off Batman.
for sure.
Like, this character was created. I think the Werewolf by Night one was only in the 70s or something.
Still well after
So it's like, it is Batman. And clearly, I can see they were trying to do some different stuff. Like, they have the Khonshu thing and they have the
multiple
personalities. They just don't go, like, into those in either tactfully or enough in these early comics.
Yeah.
But... Look, I'm going to say it a lot, so I'm just going to get it out of the way. Highly recommend if you really like Moon Knight as a character and you enjoyed reading these along with us, go check out most of the stuff past 2000 is really good. I think I've read 2006, 2010, 2013.
Yeah, cool.
And the 20 of what there is of the current
new
ongoing
one,
run.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all of them, to varying degrees, have like very more in-depth depictions of Khonshu, but they're all definitely more in depth than what's here.
Cool. Yeah.
And some of them in particular do really cool stuff with the multiple personalities. There's the 2010 one, which I think a lot of people don't like, but actually goes into having some of the Avengers around as his multiple personalities, which
cool.
I think is really
Amazing.
interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. If you like those sides of this character that are the less Batman sides, I would say go and have a look at them.
Stuff. Yeah, cool.
But we're checking out the old stuff, so we're going to keep going.
Let's keep going through.
I think my main note is that I do like the little detective team group of people that he starts to assemble in this.
I really liked, the ending where it gets everyone together and then they
This is the crew.
continue coming through
Yeah.
for the next couple of issues.
For what are overall very disjointed issues, I like that's kind of the through line.
It makes it feel like an early 60s show.
Yeah.
Like with a little
Totally.
anthology kind of thing.
There was a point where I was reading these where I was like, oh man, I wish I hadn't picked these four issues because like they're really not that different. We could have done the first two.
Yeah.
But then I'm glad ultimately in the end we did because we got that through line of these three guys.
Yeah.
Totally.
Three guys? Of all these people.
The whole car. Yeah.
And I liked coming back. So I read the first two, I think, on Tuesday. And then on, today, just before this, I read the last two. And I think issue 3 or 4, whatever. He goes into the diner and like meets up with him again. I'm like, oh yeah,
It's the guys.
they're like a team.
Yeah.
This is his whole underground sort of team that he's helping out.
The Arrow Cave.
And
so cool.
His homeless friend who later becomes not homeless. Do either of you remember his name? So I'm not referring to him as the homeless friend because I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
I'm going to find out because
There's also a very stereotypical French man.
who's just called Frenchie.
Yeah.
Frenchie.
Maintains that name in later comics though as well, which I appreciate.
Yeah, cool. I'm intrigued to know what cast and crew we get through because there's
Crawley.
Crawley.
Yeah.
Crawley.
I mean, that's pretty derogatory to homeless people as well. So we're going along with it.
Again, that's why this message exists.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Because I looked into like the base cast list that's on Letterboxd of the people, and the villain of our next issue is cast in the show. So I'm intrigued to know how he's a lot younger. He's not an old man, but it'll be interesting to see.
But yeah, no, I like how Crawley kind of evolves from the issues, and like he is this homeless man at the start, but by the time we get to the 4th issue, he's
Alfred.
He's speaking really fancily and everything.
Yeah, he's
like,
super confident.
He's living the high life. I like that little character progression we get over these few issues.
I mean, that's always been Marvel's thing, right? They always nailed characters. It was just the stories didn't really kick in. Whereas DC, it was like, who are these people? Story's great. There's nothing going on here, so it's definitely still the same back here.
For sure. I just loved, especially in this issue, it's I guess in comparison to issue 1 where he's barely Moon Knight, it makes sense. But the amount of panels that have him with his cape in the shape of a crescent
Yep.
moon just so consistently.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it. Just the amount of times they figure out an angle to have it
Oh, it's
in that shape.
I'm so excited for the show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing
also-
how they get that in the show.
I love the cape.
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense that it would work.
Yeah.
Compared to Batman's cape, which kind of just flows out and makes relative sense. It still probably doesn't work in terms of
Just
physics.
The cuts in it.
Yeah.
Because it's you've seen in the trailer, he's flying with it. It's like, no, you're not.
Yeah. It's like
No aerodynamics to this.
his cape is so stupid, but I do love they do it here and they definitely do it more and more across all his comics. Just that stupid crescent shaped cape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they definitely do it here well. And again, a thing they do in later comics is they use that a lot with negative space as well, and use the white borders of the comic and use it as
Okay.
use his cape to kind of like blend into that. So.
Yeah, it was cool to see a few panels of old comics where they like a foot or a hand or whatever breaks out. I don't know quite when that started, but like it happens way more in newer comics 'cause they can barely be contained. But yeah, just it was like they were just experimenting with it. It's like, what if we
this
just
freak them out?
yeah, what if we just put this foot outside the panel?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah, totally.
My highlight frame of this whole thing, it's the only one I screenshotted. No, I screenshotted one other one, is the nurse in the hospital says a very simple thing. And I wish we'd go back to these times where, guys could be okay with this, could be comfortable with it. She says, he recognized the Slasher's face. He can finger him. And I just feel like nowadays, guys don't talk about that enough, That doesn't. It's not as open in the air as it was back then.
Yeah.
I think we should get back to that.
Get back to that.
Yeah.
People are okay with talking about fingering people.
Yeah.
You know?
totally.
Especially in a public setting such as a hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should be able to shout out, "Hey, he can finger him."
There you go.
That should be okay, right? Yeah.
There you go. Welcome to ETTO. This is Will. He approves fingering.
Yeah.
Ben, what was the thing?
Approves cum.
Come and Josh.
I don't remember what mine was.
Maths.
Maths.
He's the boring one.
Yeah. Apparently.
There was a thing. I had
There
a
definitely
thing,
was a thing.
but it's gone now.
Yeah.
Now I'm just boring.
Now you're just maths.
It's fine. Now I'm just math.
Yeah.
Aren't we all?
That's all.
Dear. That's issue 2, really, in
That's
a
all that
nutshell.
is. Yeah.
Issue 3, probably my favorite, I would say.
Yes.
All the ones we read. I think it's because Midnight Man, the antagonist in it, is the most theoretically interesting that we have across all of them.
Definitely the most comic booky.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Midnight Man maintains a status as an antagonist as across Moon Knight's history, as opposed to most of these characters who disappear into
the cast of 5 in the next issue. I don't think crop up too much.
I hate them so much.
I like this one. I can't remember the plot, so if someone else wants to say it, but this is the character that's been cast in the show, so he's definitely important enough to make himself into live action.
And he'll actually be like as dark as black in this, because my goodness, as Josh was pointing out, it's just all blue.
Yeah.
Not Midnight.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like this Moon Knight show would be a good one to watch on OLED TV, which sadly I do not have.
Just to watch
one
flickering
day.
black lights.
Yeah. But yeah, plot of this one.
There's a party.
So yeah, he kind of like goes out in the day as this cabbie guy, talks to his friends at the bar, and then, but as also said to Marlene, I'm going to come back and there's going to be a party tonight. But there's also in the newspaper, there's been a bunch of stabbings or something going on, or a bunch of weird
Bunch of people, getting murdered at midnight or
yeah, and there's like
thefts or
comparisons to Jack the Ripper and stuff. Anyway, so he's basically like trying to find out stuff about that throughout a lot of the issue. Really, I think the first half of this issue, there's nothing happens, which is fair why you don't remember it.
Yeah.
And then all in like the last 5 to 10 pages, basically finds out he goes to the party in the evening as Stephen Grant. He talks to a guy whose name I can't remember, but it's a fancy person's name. They go into a room and he's like, oh, I have a tip that the Midnight Man is going to be... Is that right? I think it's
Pretty something much like that, yeah.
He's going to be at my house at midnight. and
And Stephen Grant's like, oh, how'd you work that out?
And I need the mercenary guy, Mark Spector, to come. And, and he's like, well,
I know him.
I'll come as Moon Knight, I guess.
I'm familiar.
And I'm going to take a painting off you.
As a trade.
Looks good.
Yeah. And then he goes to this person's house, and it's just a dumb-looking dark house that no one should actually probably go into. And I mean, this is what happens when you get me to do the plot. And then he goes into the house, steals... Oh, no. Yeah, stabs a painting.
Yeah.
Then meets Midnight Man, who he finds out is the guy with the fancy name who we just talked to. And then steals the painting and leaves.
Yeah.
After... He doesn't kill.
Marlene shoots the man.
With rubber bullets.
With rubber bullets.
Rubber bullets.
And he is ambiguously dead.
Yeah. And he steals the painting and then donates it to a museum.
Yeah,
I didn't get that bit. I'm going to be honest, because it was worded very weirdly.
Yeah,
it was
how much they brought attention to that.
Yeah.
It was weird.
But it was also it was something to do with and my personas need to stay who they are. And one of my personas, which wasn't the rich guy one, wouldn't have these, so I needed to sell them. But then I'm like, but the rich guy one would have these.
Yeah.
So this doesn't...
That's not how personalities work.
I'm not understanding what's happening here. Anyway, overall, loved the Midnight Man stuff. I thought that was very cool. And Marlene was probably the coolest in this issue. Had the most agency and stuff.
She gives me solid Black Canary vibes.
Yeah,
a lot
definitely.
of this, which is cool. Nothing to do with the Batman, though. I just had this panel, which I quite liked. It's definitely dry in writing, but I feel like if they play with the Midnight Man in a fun way, Moon Knight's like, why, Mogart, why did... His name's
Mogart.
There you go. Why do you do it? And he's like, why does one do anything? For love, ego, to pass the time, for greed? I've chosen greed. And in this, it's so fucking dry, but you can imagine that delivered as this thing, that... And I've chosen greed, so fuck you.
Is Ethan Hawke the Midnight Man guy, or is it a different...
I think he's Khonshu. I think. Maybe not.
Okay.
He's definitely not Midnight Man as a French actor that's playing Midnight Man. But
I also have... This is where my favorite context box comes from, this issue. So early on, I think you get sort of some ambiguous panels of Midnight Man breaking into places and stealing stuff or killing people or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's I think that's what's happening. Again, first part of this issue is weird.
Yeah.
The context box says, Monday night, a slick hitman crouches across from the offices at the Daily Bugle, spinning oiled silence onto a piece of death. And it's just a hitman putting a silencer on a pistol.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But it's he just...
it's
spinning oiled silence onto a piece of death.
I don't get how you have
so cool.
such good context box writing and then just some of the
everything else.
dialogue is just so bad.
It's one man.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke's playing Arthur Harrow, who I don't think we meet during these.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, that's kind of that's issue 3.
Yep.
It realistically, probably out of all of these, the least happens, but I think it's the
best
coolest
issue.
I think it's the coolest for that reason, and I think it's because you can kind of follow what's going on as compared to some of these other ones where it feels like it's constantly jumping between personalities, places, characters.
It
all
feels
that
the most superhero, supervillain sort of thing.
Yeah. Because the first one's
it feels the most Batman, if I'm honest. But again, if you're trying to pay homage or do your take on it, probably want to lean a bit towards that. I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. Because the last one was silly. The last one's a very...
Still not sure what happened.
Yeah, it feels like... Because I've read probably the first 300-ish of Spider-Man, and it feels like the kind of issue that happens after 6 good issues, and then they're like, the fearsome 2 are back, and it's like, okay, fucking who cares? This is there's 5 guys, and they're all being a bit shit, so he goes for them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. But this issue does make good use of the side characters.
This was awesome for the team, I think, each having their own roles, even the
the kids.
2 kids going into this basically nightclub. And then everyone be like, you're too young for this. And they're like, no.
We'll just send you to the gun room.
But yeah, no, I agree. The antagonists, everything that was going on there, dragged me so much that often when I read comics, I skim read them because you can kind of do that and get a lot of the context. This was one of those issues where I skim read it and felt like I didn't, because of that, I couldn't understand what the hell was going on. It was just
well, there's so many things at play that it's like, even if you don't read everything because it's like, none of this is important, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I was so confused as well, like, because from what I could tell, there's this committee of 5, but was the committee of 5 the villains or the committee on top of the villains?
goons
The committee, yeah.
Or, like, it's just too much.
Yeah. And it also is all condensed and ended in one issue as well. It's like it could be an arc.
Yeah.
But it's just...
And
Like, could the committee have been brought up in the Marvel Universe around this time if we read other things?
Possibly.
And so maybe if people
But it's just
were
been
reading a
so
lot.
self-contained for these
Yeah.
first 3 that it's like, I
Yeah.
can't imagine them doing that.
Yeah. I was just wondering, like, maybe this was their attempt to
But also,
to drag
it's a
more
shit
in.
name. And so I don't think it's anything more than these 5 people.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it extends much further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very confused by the concept of the committee as a whole. I can't remember their names, but I think there was Bull.
There's Bomb Bomb,
A boom, boom,
Boom Boom.
Ice sniper or something.
Yeah.
And then there was a karate guy, and there was a knife guy. I think his
There you go.
name was like Razor.
Yeah, we got them all.
That'll do.
That'll do.
it.
I will say, even though Marlene does have to like do some interesting stuff in this issue,
Questionable.
I do think she is also like, surprisingly for a comic that we've already talked about, is rife with a lot of issues in terms of when it's dated phrases and languages and stuff. I think she's actually like overall is a character with a decent amount of agency
When
and
she's
is
not
pretty
being
strong.
talked to.
Yeah, totally.
She's great.
Totally.
When she is herself, it's good. It's
And when
just-
she like when you get that on a page of her like going off in a few panels and like actually saving the day, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, cool. And I wish we got more of it in this, but I also acknowledge it's the 80s.
Yeah, they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The committee, there's 2 really interesting words here.
long.
I'm not reading this all. The committee was a secret organization of anonymous businessmen and finances. The purpose was to stimulate what they perceived to be a sinking global... It's fucking boring. But the important thing is their only enemies are Moon Knight. So it only exists
Right,
in this
okay.
comic. So maybe it progresses through the rest of this run.
Yeah.
But all the images are of a very old look, so I don't think they burst out of these couple of issues.
Well, they did talk about the economy being bad. So.
Yeah, they're businessmen. They're boring, and they've just employed 5 dudes to do their job, and that's about it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Those dudes gave up very quickly.
very quickly.
They barely got defeated and went back to the committee, and they were like,
yeah,
"We're out. He's too tough."
yeah. I
like-
can't do it.
Did you barely even
They would have gone back.
even punched on?
They would have gone back to Bruno Gordon, Messiah Caruthus, Donnie. Just one word.
Just Donnie.
Professor Mako,
Chair.
Baron Thunder, Ma Mayhem, Behemoth, and Harry.
Harry. Good old Harry.
That's the full group of committee members.
nice.
Just Harry.
Nice. Harry and what was the other
Wasn't
single
Frenchie
name guy?
supposed to be on the committee as well?
He's not here, but maybe.
Again.
Yeah, it did seem like he
You've-
was on it.
see-
No, he dressed up as one of them.
You've made
Yeah, I
an-
was going to say, did
I think he just
he's sort of
disguised himself.
infiltrated
Yeah.
to find out more
You've made an effort to clear it up,
Donnie.
but I think I'm more confused.
Yeah, it's still
But the one thing I mentioned it earlier, there's a final chase sequence where Moon Knight is chasing Bull into a boat, and there's just some very good onomatopoeia in one of the pages. It
Yeah.
goes, it's a lot of like gunfire mainly.
Yeah.
But we've got Spang, Brock,
good
Piao,
Yep.
Clump, and Biao.
Clump.
Biao.
Yeah.
Biao and Piao.
Yeah.
Clump. Clump is such a... What gun makes a clump sound when it shoots?
Yeah, only when you drop it into
Clump.
water. Yeah.
I could see it. It's like a heftier gun. Clump. Like a
In like a 1940s sense.
I feel
Like clump, 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 clump.
I would imagine a grenade launcher being like...
clump.
Yeah.
It's probably
Yeah.
clump. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's more like that. Anyway. But
Clump.
but yeah, that I liked that.
Yeah.
Overall committee sucked, but I did like as the team evolves up until this issue. It's kind of a cool way. I feel like it's a good place for us to leave it, seeing the team evolve to what it is, where they're all kind of working as a pretty good machine in this issue.
Yep. And earning the big bucks
Yes.
by just stealing it off the bad
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other thing I will mention is in this issue, we do get the little retcon of the Werewolf by Night origin
happens.
of Moon Knight.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, oh yeah, he was there, but it was not what we said in that comic.
Yeah.
So that's
Slid it forward a bit.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I think before we jump into viewer comments, I think overall, weirdly, as much as I don't like reading 80s comics and I find the like pages very difficult to pass a lot of the times, I kind of want to keep reading this just for a few issues just to see where it goes. There's like definitely a lot of issues with it that I think we've gone into, and that classic 80s art style that they kind of use for it, I really struggle to like look at. I don't know, there's just something
Just thick. It's always very thick.
It's very thick, and there's like, I don't know, it's something about the way everything is detailed to me. It's almost like too detailed in a way. They were trying too hard to get like the realistic elements in there. But I think when the art is some of the strongest in this comic is when it kind of pulls back to those pages full of like onomatopoeia and stuff, and there's just like pops of color and all that, which I think was enough to pull me through, and I think is why I'm
it was
curious.
Definitely not the worst old comic I've read. I've read far worse than this. And it's interesting to see the bits and pieces. Like we briefly talked about it because it's briefly in here, but all his personalities are very much treated as literal hats. It's like, are you wearing that hat now? So I guess you're that person. And he's like self-aware that that's happened, which is not really kind of how that lies. He's like, yeah, I'm this person now. I'll see you later.
Yeah, it seems like he's just like, this is my next task. So this is the person I need to be to complete that task.
Whereas it's something that changes a lot in later comics because they begin to treat it as multiple personality disorder and it becomes a thing.
Well, I was looking at, they kind of place it as at birth. There was a lot of psychological damage when he was young. But he's had all these forever, basically.
And it becomes a thing where he's no longer really able to choose it. It just kind of activates.
That's totally the element that feels weird in this. It feels like he's picking a character.
Yeah, and
like,
I think
that's not it.
I think that's where it feels the most like Batman, where it's like...
Oh, Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, where it's like, it doesn't actually feel like he's got multiple different personalities. It just feels like he's changing from Moon Knight to Bruce Wayne and then this other extra version.
I need to be a cabbie right now, so I'll be one.
But I'm very keen to see how the TV show handles that because it looks like they're going very heavy on those, both the two elements that I said I wanted more from this, and that's the Khonshu stuff and the personality stuff, which kind of play into each other as well.
There's some weird shit in that show.
Ooh, yeah.
It's good.
Very keen, very keen.
Yeah.
I will say, I think I fell asleep a lot reading these. I've been very tired with multiple jobs right now, but every single one of these was a struggle to get through. For me, I did overall enjoy the stories, but I think just how dense they are with words and stuff, it was just
Look, when I say I'm going to
struggle,
I think when I say I'm going to continue it,
pages.
I'm probably going to look at the pages, and I reckon I might give it like 4 more issues at most because I just want to see how the character, like the overall original run of the character, not the whole like 38 issues. Because I feel like you get a good sense with most of these origin stories within like the first 8 to 10.
Totally.
for sure.
Even within the first 4, I feel like we get a good idea of what they're going for, at least for the character. Because this was kind of a reboot for a character that had only appeared once. So they do it.
They rebooted him.
From
one issue.
Totally. And
it's so many of these characters. Like you read so many that like come, like Black Widow is like a villain in a Spider-Man comic, and they're like Avenger. That'll work. Like there's so many bits of like Human Torch, like his original, like
that's right.
Everything in comics, they come in as this like Groot was just this huge alien dude that hit Earth and was like, I'm fucking you up, and then they're like, actually, you know what? He's a nice tree, and he's going to be on a team called the Guardians. Everything in comics, they do it wrong once, and then they're let's fix this.
Pretty sure Wolverine was a villain in
Hulk.
In a Hulk.
Shang-Chi's been rebooted about 20 times.
Well, they made him a white man for a little while because they were like, people prefer Iron Fist, and then they went, oh, you know what? That was pretty bad. Let's walk that one back.
Terrible.
Oh, dear.
Comics is shit.
They're shit until they realize, we should do something good with that character. And then you get some gems.
Thank you, movies. Thank you, movies, for deciding what characters should be.
Oh, yeah, that's the other one that I was going to bring up, that Korg and Meek were actually, they're in the original Planet Hulk comic, but they are nowhere near as interesting as they are in, what's the movie? Thor Ragnarok. I was going to say Love and Thunder, and I was like, well they're in that, but we don't know yet. Speaking of which, should get a trailer for that very soon.
That should be very soon.
soon.
It's now less time than Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's beaten Spider-Man in terms of
right.
promo now. It's I think 10 or 20 days in to when we got our first Spider-Man trailer now. So, so
Very
good.
soon.
Crazy.
They're also currently reshooting stuff, so
Oh,
Yeah.
it may be that.
Yeah.
fun.
Lots of reshoots.
I know.
We'll talk about that later.
Doctor Strange is
But
reshooting,
lots of reshoots going on at Marvel, but like good reshoots, I think, from what I've heard.
They want to make the best movie they can, and that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Moon Knight. We're going to jump into some viewer comments. We had, I believe, 4 people write in this time to varying degrees.
You know who you are.
Yeah. But I both love the long ones and the really short ones. So to start off, we've got Joshi. And this is a long one, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. So I'm going to get started. Moon Knight's first 12 pages suggest an homage to Roger Moore's Bond era, specifically 1973's Live and Let Die. Would you agree, Will? I don't know much.
I can see that. Like, the Bushman is very much Baron Samedi, which is one of the characters in Live and Let Die. But
Cool.
Yeah, the artwork, the story's action-focused but hintedly mystical aesthetic, how it represents people of color, villains, and as the female love interest, Marlene, who initially hates but does a 180 the second Bond, Spectre, leaps into action, deprioritizing everything else, including her father's killer getting away, evokes comparisons. Bushmaster's identical steel chompers to Jaws, touches 1977's The Spy Who Loves Me.
Right.
as soon as he chomped on the guy's neck, for sure. Totally forgot about that.
Those attitudes and aesthetics in art, values, and writing also more the story in a set period, an issue plaguing the series when viewed with modern eyes, but possibly acceptable for the time. Yeah. Probably never acceptable, but at the time, people thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Page 13 drops one of the quickest info dumps of origin story ever seen. Yeah. 2 additional identities, a live-in girlfriend and a mass fortune, and the Mooncopter in a single page.
Fucking Mooncopter. That's
man.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
The Mooncopter is very cool. The writer-artist duo are quickly spinning a new narrative for their hero, burning and churning through ideas to find the gold paint that'll stick. Yeah, that's a lot of what this is, I think. It's just trying to work out what'll stick. And, stuff like Midnight Man did. Stuff like The Committee did not. Swift examples of reinvention include Mark Moon Knight getting blinded twice by rage in the first issue, allowing Bushmaster to take the advantage in battle. Then in subsequent issues, he's cool, calm, and collected, channeling any rage as a strength. Each issue's story is standalone in order to test different genres and villain types on this peculiar hero and rapidly attempt to grow an ensemble of characters to support Moon Knight, all awfully nonchalant about somebody bouncing between 4 identities. Except Marlene.
Yeah.
Yes.
Marlene's like, what the fuck's going on?
Every time she will bring attention to it.
Suave
she can.
Steve Grant homages Moore's Bond, while Jake Lockley allows trialing a grittier persona, but also sleazier. His poor housekeeper. Oh, God, I didn't even mention that.
That frame.
Yeah. Mark is sidelined post-Origin. That's true.
Yeah,
They get
he doesn't
no
really
Mark
come back to
Spector,
that,
even though Midnight Man guy asked for it. He doesn't get it.
Maybe that's his Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
I don't feel like being that guy.
Yeah. The writers are spinning in-universe rewrites from Werewolf by Midnight, a tool they look ready to deploy on their own work at a moment's notice. This early run is best viewed through the lens of a chrysalis still maturing fully. Man, Joshy, you have
Every
a
time.
fantastic turn of phrase.
Every time.
Insane.
Evident where the writing is figuring out what category of hero Moon Knight will be slotted into, not dissimilar to modern MCU heroes now in Phase 4 being categorized as magic, cosmic, etc. And in the artwork, Bill Sinkovich is competent but unremarkable. That reminds me of that Halo review.
Oh, yeah. At least it wasn't bad.
That's some Doc Ock. Brilliant, but lazy.
Emulating the Marvel art mold in stark contrast to the art he's presently renowned for, which we touched on earlier. His art style trajectory on this title creeps out in the cover of issue 4 and only a few other select panels of this read. These teasers by Sinkovich will erupt in full in New Mutants, Demon Bear, Saga, and Elektra. Oh, he does Saga as well? I didn't know that.
Right.
A direction I dislike in his in-comic line work, with emphasis on emotion over realistic structure in his character drawings, while simultaneously loving his oil paint covers like the Dazzler covers that inspired the Guardians game's Easter egg Dazzler poster.
Very good.
Yeah. My favorite part of the writing is the text boxes.
Yes.
The descriptive boxes in the 20th century get a lot of flack because they're no longer in vogue, modern comics favoring the art speaking for itself. When done right, this retro emphasis placed on the book in comic book rivals modern comic storytelling techniques. The opening pages of issue 2 are one such example. Art and dialogue boxes poetically crescendoing into more than an image and text, transcending the imagination further than either could reach alone, creating a visual and atmosphere, context, and additional insight into a character's being.
My God.
That's a lot of words, but I think this is where our separation, and often we tend to disagree with Joshi in a lot of these comics, and I think this is where the separation lies, in that I hate this.
Yeah, I don't want this.
Yeah. I understand that, like, definitely in this era, there was a lot more text and comic book and exposition going on. A lot of the reason I read comic books, and perhaps it's better to use the the words graphic novel, is because I get to look at pictures and don't have to do a lot of reading, and that helps me. And something I can't do as well these days is read books. Just because I struggle to have the attention span for it. And I think going to something like this, where it feels like I'm mostly reading a book, and then there's a lot of images around it, but not enough removed from it. It's just like there's too much going on, and I love some slightly more subtler uses of text in more recent comics. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, definitely. Will and I have had this discussion for years. Probably since, like, both of us, Will started earlier than me, but like reading the super early Spider-Man comics. Like, we went back and just read from issue 1. Yeah. And they're dense. There's a lot in there, but we're just like, we realized, we sort of came to the realization that back then it's like they didn't really know how to write comics yet, because there are pictures, and as the phrase goes, picture tells 1,000 words, but they hadn't really worked that out yet. How to let the picture tell 1,000 words without having to describe everything. And I think that's basically what you're saying, like what you were struggling with.
Totally. And I think the other thing that I'd mention is there is a very quintessential art style to earlier comics, which means that it's rare for the art to actually, like, go out and do something different and allow the, like, be simple enough for the text to be very detailed, or alternately be very detailed art and then the text be very simple. So I don't feel like...
It's a weird thing with old comics. It's because they don't know how to write it. They also don't know how to draw it. So it always feels like, and it usually is, I mean, comics are generally written first. Feels like they wrote, and then they're like, okay, for this panel, just a person's face, that'll do. And so it's like the comic isn't drawn for you to just look at it in the way that it's flipped now. Comics are drawn, and then they're like, we can fit some words in there, but the art's doing the job. Whereas this is like, we wrote a book, and then we just put some pictures in there.
Totally.
That kind of work.
Yeah, totally. And I think where it shines in these comics, and Joshi does kind of mention it, is like when we talk about, like, those pages where he's just traveling through the desert and there's a really descriptive text above images of the desert. I think that kind of works. My issue with it, it was every page. And at a point I was just like struggling, like genuinely struggling to keep my attention going through it all.
I was falling asleep.
Just falling asleep.
Just
laying down.
Because we
laying
love
down, you're going to fall asleep.
It always gets me.
We love comics like The Vision, but I think in that case, the art is potentially a little bit simpler and kind of complements the fact that it's a very word heavy
it's a journal,
comic as well.
Those things,
We did say in that, even though it is a modern comic, we were like, there's a lot
of words.
Like that could get tough sometimes to get through as well. So it's not just old comics. We're not just
don't like
ragging
words.
on those, but
apparently
we're just children that want to look at pictures.
I guess so.
Yeah, totally. That's all we are. But we do have a Joshi rating as well.
Good. Okay. Always love a good
just to wrap up, he says, far from special, but promising in what creative team and character could be. I rate the first 4 issues of Moon Knight 1980, 3 of Frenchie's Adventures of Fifi La Femme magazine out of 5.
I did see that. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Very good.
Thank you for that, Joshi. Next up is Dolphin Pants. Got it in a bit later than everyone else.
He did.
But a slightly different opinion. I think he says, in regards to the panel at the start saying this is all out of date, we acknowledge that. He says, I think this is a good touch, embrace the parts and learn from our mistakes, which I agree with.
Did you say embrace the parts?
Embrace the part. I struggled, okay? I've said a lot of words.
Yeah.
Joshy put me through the ringer with those words.
fair.
Yeah. You're all out of words.
And just before reading them, Dolphin Pants said, never read a Moon Knight, but damn excited for the show. So that's kind of prefacing it all.
Yep.
And also don't usually read comics this far back into the history of characters, so this will be interesting. And then
read 2 words there.
Yeah. and then he starts with his comments on it, and he says, everything before Mark becomes Moon Knight was a bit shit.
Yep.
Put it down to the time of release, but it was a slog.
Yeah.
Yep. And then edit, anything that isn't Moon Knight being Moon Knight is a bit shit.
Good.
Amazing.
He says, it's a pretty cool costume that obviously worked really well because it hasn't really changed too much. It is a cool costume. They nailed that pretty early.
Yeah.
And he says, there's a panel here that he puts which says, tell your boss I'm about to enter his trap as he's walking away.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And Dolphin Pants says, yeah, I get it. He's cool.
Yeah.
And then he says they really need to put more Moon Knight in this Moon Knight comics. Good use of the cape.
It's just cape. Yeah. That one's so good.
Yeah.
They write the words in the cape.
I think that's one of the points where I was like, yeah, that's really cool. Like they're experimenting with what they can do with this comic, which I like a lot. And then he has final comments, which says, look, not a fan, which I'm not surprised by. But
Said shit a lot.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just used to modern comics, but I had to force myself through these issues, which is never a good sign. And I know they were still establishing the character, but it just didn't connect with me. Maybe a more modern Moon Knight series might get me, but I'll wait for Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
Definitely once you've watched the show, go back and read some of those more modern ones, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of them. But they require this little bit of knowledge beforehand. So it's either watch the show or read these to kind of get an idea.
Yeah.
Or be like me and just go balls deep in and work out what the hell is going on with the character.
Embrace the parts.
Yeah, embrace the parts.
Embrace the parts. Balls.
Jade has some comments on it. I just saw Will's gesture out the corner of my eye and I'm going to move on.
Yeah, embracing her.
I knew he would. That's why I said it.
Yeah, great. Just completely derailing my thoughts here, but that's fine. Give me time to find Jade's comments. And she says, Moon Knight, woo!
Woo!
Which is a good start. I told my friend I'd finally read issues 1 to 4 of the 1980s Moon Knight comic, and she immediately sent me some shirtless Oscar Isaac gifts.
Thought you meant us.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, please don't expect anything serious from me today. Joshy's take was fantastic, so you should totally read that.
Yeah. Nice.
Joshy's already flagged that some language has aged poorly, and also the way the comic treats mental health is not great. In my opinion, that's a very common superhero comic problem. The heroes really need therapy. The villains don't get the therapy they need to rehabilitate. Yeah, that hasn't really changed. They just don't use the bad words as much, but they still could do with a bit of therapy.
Yeah.
One thing I particularly liked was the visuals. It was often moody, and I love spotting crescent motifs. One villain had a sickle, and Moon Knight's cape loved throwing shapes. It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Certainly does.
We got a few images here. I like this one. It's kind of it's a very Batman-esque shadow there.
It is, yeah.
And then we got the little crescent moon of Moon Knight.
Yeah.
And
then
the guy in blue while he's in shadow, because he's in darkness.
Yeah.
Always blue.
And then this one, I like how it's just there's so little detail of his actual body.
Yeah.
Just the little eyes.
Yeah. It's very cool.
And I like how his cowl kind of has little moons coming down as well.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Just symbolism everywhere.
Very, very cool symbolism.
Nice.
And Jade also says, I find issues establishing completely new characters to be more miss than hit for me. Although the opposite is true for origin movies for me. No idea why. I think it's probably because they tend to be a bit more succinct.
They know what didn't work in the comics.
Yeah, that's true.
We know how to fix this.
Yeah. But this month's assigned reading was actually fun. I'm glad.
Yay.
Was it the frantic...
the woo.
Woo! Was it the frantic pace of the script, rushing to get to the fun bits? Was it the juxtaposition of serious situations with the occasional ridiculous frame? Got some good ridiculous... It's
the one I showed. Yeah.
We got some ridiculous frames here. For sure.
Insane legs.
Yep. Corrupt. That's another good one.
Corrupt.
Oh, man.
Swak, splam. There's another splam. 2 splams.
It's such a these are original ones are such a Marvel Legends figure.
Yeah,
like
totally.
where they're like, well, we did a white body and white legs and white. We didn't have to do any paint on this figure.
No.
He's just white.
Yeah.
And that's it. We're done.
Yep. Definitely. Okay, and then the rest of Jade's comments are funny panels, which is a lot of fun.
Good.
Yes.
So
excellent. Looking forward to
the
it.
first panel we have is well, a
funny.
combination of a couple. It's Marlene going in and doing some exotic dancing.
This one took me a while. I wasn't sure what was
They
happening.
did not paint the symbols.
Annoyingly, I kind of had to.
Zoom?
Well, I had no. I had to look there for a long period of time
Oh, yeah.
on the previous panel and this one
Yeah.
to realize that it's like she's spinning some fans around.
Yeah.
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 Look, when I went into the channel initially, look at these, I hadn't read the comic.
Yeah.
And I was just unspoiling everything before I read it. And so I unspoiled this without context. And I was like, okay.
What is this comic?
Yeah.
But
I also thought they were symbols.
big
at
symbols,
first.
yeah.
Because there's a drummer behind it.
And because that's not how they would work. It's spinning and creating flesh behind her.
yeah.
Like it's wrong.
It's very strange.
yeah,
it's terrible.
This gives it context, but it's not
It
very
does.
clear.
Yeah.
No.
Jade points out, as a bit of context to this all, as a person who has some knowledge of exotic dancing, I have to ask, how do the rotor blades on her nipples work? Are they weighted so they rotate when she does particular chest movements, like what you do with nipple tassels? Or more likely, are they battery operated with little motors? How do they turn on?
I vote for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did she flip a switch when she hit the drum with her butt? Or are they remote controlled? I mean, this is very funny. Wait, is this meant to be sexy?
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that there's like an
The butt.
impact
yeah.
Smack that
behind
drum.
her butt to the
Yeah.
He
drum.
does not. He looks very concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swinging the
This
hip.
cost a lot of money. $100. It's 1980.
$100.
This is $100
Yeah.
drum.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next one, which I also agreed with. There's some panels around this one. I'm just going to put up this panel, but basically the panels on either side, they are fully clothed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jade makes the point, where did their clothes go?
Absolutely.
And they also look like conjoined twins.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're just having a conversation,
Yeah.
and just in one of these panels, they are completely naked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jade says, were they having a slow conversation during sexy times? What is happening?
I loved her comment straight after this. Sir, what happened to you? Oh, is that?
That's another one.
that's-
Yeah.
I thought it was that one.
Yeah.
Because
got
also
pretty
what happened to
terrible
his
face.
face in the previous one. But
This one.
yes,
Yeah, this is
That one is also
interesting
terrible.
looking face.
Mid- talk.
both frames have terrible faces. His
Yeah.
face in the top one is
Yeah.
It's not great.
weirdly stern and blocky.
But here's a good face.
That's a great face.
Yeah. Not sure what to do, man. Your butt's on the drums.
Your butt's on the drums.
Keep on going.
All right. And then a little bit of a summary from Jade says, I read these issues having previously only seen the trailer, and tell you what, if Oscar Isaac wasn't one of my friend's favorite actors, I would have been totally meh about the upcoming Disney Plus show. All I was looking forward to was the inevitable thirst talk every time Oscar's face is on screen and hearing my friend gush about what a fantastic actor he is. But now I'm actually interested to watch.
Yeah.
Especially to see how it shows him juggling identities. Thanks for this comic pick. I thought it was going to say juggling other stuff, given what we just looked at.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Twirling.
Yeah, nice.
Um,
It's kind of cool that even though these were kind of rough, that Jade has spun it into being like, I'm actually kind of interested now
Yeah.
to see how they spin this.
Yeah.
And it's,
And having seen the trailer, I guess the comparison, you're like, they've taken this in a direction
Totally.
comparatively to you know,
these,
the only thing that Jade and I have really seen of Moon Knight before.
to be honest, and I think like I was like pleasantly surprised when I read what Jade thought of it, because our last comic, Batman Ego, she had a particularly scathing review, which was very fair.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's a lot of that kind of stuff in here. Like, I feel bad that we've picked two of them in a row. But I kind of, I like the fact that you prefaced it with, there's a lot of bad stuff. And I definitely feel like, while it's still not good, you can definitely put it down more to the age and be
Yeah.
like, put it to the side a bit as you read it.
Yeah.
Whereas something like Batman Ego, which was written in 2000, it's like, I don't know if a lot of that,
Totally.
like that's...
It's
Fly, yeah.
it's the difference between watching an 80s film and then
Yeah.
watching like a Quentin Tarantino film now. And it's like, why are you still doing this, man?
And it's
You
like
can't do this now.
I definitely like the little disclaimer at the start of all the Marvel Unlimited.
Certainly helps.
Helps as well, because it's
Yeah.
like Marvel are like, we know
know.
it's bad. Just
Yeah.
see it as a part of the time, but like,
Yeah.
this is not something we approve of at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then one final viewer comment from Dion
So good.
says, I finished the first issue and some of the second, but it didn't really grab me. I like the concept of Moon Knight, but this just felt too dated to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
There you go.
That is the rawest version of it. I feel like we always do. There's always one in the viewer comments that's like, that distills it.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
That's why I put it at the end this time, because I think last time Dion was the short one as well. And I was like, yeah, it's a good summary.
Dion is us. Dion is the show.
Yeah.
If we didn't have to make content, probably would have done the same.
Yeah,
Pretty much the summary,
Yeah. It's like we have to talk about this for an hour and a half, but if we didn't,
We wouldn't.
we wouldn't.
No, it was good fun to read them.
Nice.
But I'm definitely more intrigued to read a couple more of them, but also to read some newer stuff for sure. Yeah.
I'm trying to work out what run I would recommend the most. Probably. Oh, actually, it's tough because they all kind of like tie into each of them. I would go in chronological order probably, so I'd probably jump into the 2006 one. Although I will preface that it's very gory and bloody and intense in a lot of bits. And then I go through 2010 to the more recent ones. But I do think if you are going to read more, I do think maybe with that 2006 run, you can stop about halfway through. There's not a lot of important stuff past a certain point. It's just good to see like this is now the modern version of this character.
It's a reintroduction kind of.
Yes.
And then read the Infinity Warp Arachnite, where Spider-Man and Moon Knight combined, because that was a great run. 3 or 4 comics. It was really cool.
And then I think in an Avengers comic recently, he also Khonshu took over and Moon Knight went kind of crazy again.
Batty.
Yeah.
Is the 2006 like the first with the next run after this? Did he just stop for a while?
No. I
No,
think there's some like older ones as well. I have a quick look. You can vamp in the meantime.
Sure.
Vamp. Moon Knight.
That was a good song we came up with
Pretty good.
earlier.
I think we're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Josh can remember it.
Yep.
Go on. The beat he was doing before. You remember it? Bubba Chubba.
Bubba Chubba.
It's like, is that the Aldi version of a Chubba Chub?
Yeah, that's
So
it.
I'm gonna have my Bubba Chubba.
That's it. Because what's the Kit Kat from there?
Shit slat.
Yeah, it's probably just like a time, not a time.
Oh yeah. It is something like that.
Yeah.
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 It's a bit weird.
Take a moment.
It's take a moment. Yeah.
So yeah, there's some more 80s.
Or like the Tim Tams.
Yeah.
Audi Tim Tams or like Tam Tims or something.
Jonathan Tam.
Very good.
With an exclamation.
I was so zoned out trying to find that. I came into the conversation
talking
halfway
about?
through and I was
Great.
That's your intro.
Where did we go?
Yeah, but yeah, so there's a bunch more in like the 80s and 90s, and then it takes a bit of a break to like.
I want to just take a moment to say
2006.
the Marvel Unlimited app is now shit, and I want you to go back to how you could search things before, because the fact that you just kind of search and it's like, here's a variety of things. It's like, no, I want to say, because before you could go search and then it was a list of every
Scroll.
series ever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's perfect because I can see everything. Now you're right, Moon Knight, it's like, would you like this one issue or would you like this series from 1920?
I remember when they first released the update and I was like, oh, that looks really cool. And then I was like, wow, okay, like 2 elements of this are cool and the rest of it is objectively
irritating.
worse.
Yeah. So unfortunate.
and the-
From the 1980s, it's particularly tedious.
yeah. Yeah.
Except this is from
Far more tedious. And
2021.
Yeah.
doesn't remember it didn't remember I was reading this, and so it wasn't in
Oh,
the
damn.
continue reading, so I had to go back. But when I went there, it said I'd read the first 2.
Yeah.
So clearly I was.
Should have been there.
I will say the My Library bit, like saving comics, is a lot better. That's
And
the one thing.
unlimited downloads.
Yeah.
We'll give them
Yes.
at least that.
Yeah. Unlimited.
Absolutely.
Unlimited. Marvel's
There it is.
Halo.
They did it.
Halo?
Game Pass, you could get both. You can watch Halo. And
Oh yeah, if you have Xbox Game Pass and you haven't had a Marvel Unlimited subscription, you can get Marvel Unlimited for 3 months now.
And I think Disney Plus is somewhere as well. I think
And
you can get
probably
Disney Plus as
Paramount
well.
Plus.
And
We
Paramount
think we were
Plus.
trying to do that
Yeah,
as well.
I can't work it out though. I'm trying, but
This is not an advertisement for any of them. We're not sponsored by any of them.
Nah.
But, you know, just letting you know.
If you want a computer, why don't you buy a Dell? Her new album 30 came out in December.
Yeah, okay.
There it is.
This is my album.
There you go.
30.
There it is, everybody.
See, I've got the facial hair on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to end this podcast, Ben. Can we talk about what we're doing next?
No, we can't. I was just like, I should be using this time while they're saying dumb shit to work out what we're doing next.
Random bullshit, go.
Random bullshit, go.
This is a public service announcement for you that none of those panels are real.
Yeah, all the Moon Knight meme panels,
all
not real.
All rubbish.
Yes. Unfortunately.
So what I have down for April is Doctor Strange. And I did some like research into what we could do. But the problem with a lot of them is they're like really hard to track down the actual issues. So there's like some cool stories from like the 70s and 80s. But it's hard to find the specific issues, and I had to look on Marvel Unlimited and I couldn't find them.
Dang.
So we're going to work it out now.
Ben's got a good edit to do here.
Oh, yeah.
Many hours later.
Next month, we are doing a little storyline called Don't Pay the Ferryman. Not the song, which I Googled and came up, but Doctor Strange.
Nice.
Which is the 1974 comic, but the comics themselves are from 1986.
There you go.
Because
So the
they're the later
1974
ones.
run.
So the 1974 run?
But it ran for 10 years.
Yes, because we are doing...
At least.
Yeah, 10 years 12 years. 13 years.
Wow.
13 freaking years.
We are doing...
one run.
Let me just check again. Issue number 75 to 81.
There you go.
But it's quite a lot, but like I think how we'll do it, we'll just like read the story and do like a summary of the whole story because it seems like it's contained together.
Totally.
I think you can get a trade paperback out of for it as well somewhere. Maybe if you can source that. I don't know. I just wanted to read a funky old Doctor Strange comic.
And you've also got the entire month because the movie doesn't even really come out until early June. So
May. It's coming out. It's coming out early May, which is why I said we'll do it for April, but we probably won't record it till around this point in April. So you got a month.
You got a whole month to read.
There you go.
How many?
6 issues, I think.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, 1974, issue 75 to 81. So 7 issues.
7 issues. There you go, everybody.
Good. Oh, we had some good times
We had
today.
some good times.
Good times.
That's gonna be, I look forward to editing this one back because there's some funny stuff towards the end there. I enjoyed that a lot.
Loose.
Gets very loose.
It gets hungry.
I'm hungry.
I'm very hungry.
Let's get some
Should
food.
we go get some food?
I haven't eaten anything today.
Yeah, cool.
I'll have something.
All right, let's
Nice.
go.
Apart from a little soup.
Alright.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go get some food.
I'm going to stay here and then you can all go around me and then I'll leave.
Yeah, nice. Very inconvenient of you.
Yeah.
Love it. Love your work.
So I'm just going to move back. I'm just moving back a bit. I've moved back a bit. Just FYI, they've left the room. It's unnecessary for the bit, but they have. And so have I.